Hey, this is WhyBeAre back with my summer car. Last time we built an engine. This time we are going to build the suspension for my car. So the first thing we're going to need to do is raise the car up into the air. To do that, we have a floor jack right here. And I'm just going to place it right in the middle of the front of the car, like so. And you can tell when you place it right because you'll hear a little bit of a noise when the car lands on the jack. And sometimes the car will actually shift a little bit when the jack is placed. And we're going to raise this as high as we possibly can because I have no reason why not to. And that's all we're going to do. No jack stands or anything like that because there's a little consequence if the car actually falls off of the jack. If it falls off, you just say, oh well, and you get the jack, put it under the car, and raise it up again. Not like real life where it falls off and you crush yourself. So anyways, these are all the parts we're going to be installing. The first thing we're going to install is the front subframe. So we're just going to grab that and rotate it in a direction that looks logical. And then place it there. And the next thing we're going to do is go and grab our toolbox because I don't want to run all the way over there every time I need a different sized spanner. And I am going to say spanner. Even though it's really weird for me to say spanner, that's the word they use in the game, as you can see right there. So I'm going to say spanner. First thing we need is a size 10, and we got 4 bolts on the subframe. 2 of them are a little bit hard to see in the back right there. And then the other ones are right here, super easy to see in the front. So that side is done. We'll go over to the other side and do the same here. So we'll do the front first, and then we move over to the rear. And then we go to the next part, which is the wishbone. And on the wishbone, there's 2 of them here. One says wishbone FR, the other one says FL. FR means front right. And the thing that'll always throw me off no matter how many times I do this, I see FR, I think front right. So I go to the right side. But that's wrong because it's the right of the car, not your right. So I know in the future I will make that mistake, knowing me. So you'll have to forgive me if that does happen. So first we attach that, and then we'll grab the other one and attach it too. And then we'll bolt it in just because that's the way I like to do things. So that's plugged in properly, and now it's bolted in 1, 2, and it uses a size 10 spanner just like the subframe, so I don't even need to change it out here. So 1, 2, and that is done. Next piece we're going to be installing will be the steering rack. And remember, the order that I install things here isn't exactly what's going to be realistic or the ideal. It's just the order I think is easiest to kind of show you guys where the parts go. So for the steering rack, it goes right there. And we're going to need a size 9 spanner on this one. And it's nice and easy if you actually do this one from above because you can see all 4 bolts from this angle. It's not like the other ones where you had to go left side, right side. This one just has in the middle and you're done. So the next part we're going to be installing is the steering rod, which is this piece here. And we have a right and a left one on this. And this one's a little bit hard to line up because it's a little bit of an awkward shape. So let's see if I can get this thing in there from this angle. There we go. And then we're going to get the other steering rod and install that one too. But we're not going to tighten these yet. I mean, you technically could, but it makes absolutely no sense of what's going on when you tighten it. So I want to leave it for later so you could actually see what it's being tightened to. Line that up a little bit better. Come on, I know it's pretty close. Come on, game. Give it to me. There we go. So you see right there, though, there's a bolt. And I could sew if I wanted to tighten that. But you see, it's tightening to what? Nothing. It's just floating in the air. Makes no sense. So next piece we're going to install is the spindle. This is the one for the right. And that'll go directly on to the wishbone. And then we'll do the same for the other side. And then we'll have to attach the spindles using a size 12 spanner, which is one I have not used yet in this video. So we'll grab the 12. And the bolt for this one is really kind of hidden away. If you really peek, you can see it right there. There's the bolt. And you're going to just try to tighten it here. It's like giving me a little, no, you can't tighten this, but it lets me anyways. And one thing that might throw you off a little bit that I've noticed is like, it looks like the bolt's coming from the left from this angle, right? But then if you go from here, it looks like, oh, that's another bolt, right? But that's actually the same bolt, just from a different angle. It is really weird. But as far as I can tell, there's just 1 bolt to hold that in. And you saw it is telling me, hey, you could do the bolt for the steering rod, but I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to wait until it looks logical. So the spindles are done. Next thing we're going to put in is the struts. So this one is for the left, which means we go to the right. I have to say that out loud, otherwise I'll make a mistake. Did I make a mistake? Wait a minute. It should attach. There we go. For a second, I was second guessing myself. And now we could actually attach the steering rod because you can see how it attaches up. The second part is there. So we just go ahead and click that in. And then we're going to grab the other one and do the same thing. And we're going to swap out our spanner because there are a lot of parts to that strut that need to be attached. It's not just, oh, we're done. Now you got to have like another half dozen attachment points. There we go. Next, we're going to need a size 10 spanner, which is used above here. So we have 3 attachments here. We got 1, 2, 3. Did I get that one all the way? Yes, I did. Then we got the same on the other side. So we'll just slowly make our way over there. And 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Now we need to get a different size spanner. We need a size 9. And then we have 4 bolts down here that we have to do. So 1, and then we have 1 below that one, 2. And we have 1 to the left of that one, and then 1 below that one for 4. It's actually a square of bolts. The way I said that was a little backwards, but you see 1 bolt, 2 bolts, 3 and 4. Well, not 4. There we go. See, my timing's just a little off, just like my comedic timing. It's all off. Perfect. Now we have basically all of the front suspension parts there. So we can go ahead and put the brakes on it. Now the brakes are symmetrical, so I don't need to think about which side they go on. I just grab a brake and put it on, which is actually proving to be a little bit difficult there. I was just not at the right position, but then I finally got it. So now we'll go ahead and do the same for this side. Whoops, that's not how that was supposed to go. Now, for the half shafts. These are kind of hard because you have to remember, you have to tighten the bolts on this later on when the engine is actually in the car. Because if you were to try to tighten them now, you're tightening it to absolutely nothing, which makes no sense. Also, I think half shafts are possibly the hardest part to line up to actually install into the car. There we go. Next half shaft. I kind of don't like the fact that you have to crouch down to pick things up. It's just like, man, my guy should just be able to have like a little bit longer of a range so I don't have to have that inconvenience. So there we go. There's the half shaft. And if you peek in there, you can see the bolts that will attach to the engine. But it doesn't make sense to tighten them now because the engine's not there. You're tightening the bolts to absolutely nothing whatsoever. So we have the spindles on the car, which means we can finally attach the wheels, which are sitting in the far corner over here. And for some reason, the tire says front left. Now, I don't know of any single stock car out there that needs a specific tire on each of its corners. There are cars out there that need different tires on the front and rear, but I've never heard of one that needs a different one on the front left, front right, rear left, and rear right. And right there, I made the mistake I told you I was going to make. I told you eventually I would go to the left side of the car, or the right side of the car when I need to be on the other side. Just did it as promised. At least I caught on pretty fast. So now that those wheels are attached, we're going to go ahead and bring this thing down. Now you notice I haven't tightened a lot of bolts here. We still got the one for the brakes and the one for the wheels itself. I will be coming back to those later, but it's just a little bit easier to do all 4 corners of the car at the same time. The back, it still has no wheels at all. So we'll go ahead and stick this under there. Hopefully that's actually on the jack. It's actually inside of the jack a little bit, so we won't get the maximum amount of height, but we should be able to get it up high enough to actually see what we're doing. Speaking of seeing what we're doing, it's getting a little bit difficult to do that because I notice it's getting a little darker out. You see, the sun is nearly set, and when that happens, we can just go and take a nap, or we could try to keep doing things using the flashlight, but the flashlight is a very realistic representation of how hard it is to line up a flashlight when you're trying to do something on your own without having a guy to hold it for you. Because you can't actually, annoyingly, you can't hold the flashlight and pick things up. You have to have 2 hands on the flashlight at all times. So what I was saying though is you gotta set the flashlight down. So you take the flashlight and you drop it, and that's the light you got. That's it. Not a very wide cone either. So if it starts to get too hard to see anything, I'll just go ahead and take a nap, and hopefully when I wake up, it'll be bright. But right now, visibility is okay, so let's go ahead and install the rear left trailing arm. And I almost messed that up. I almost said right left trailing arm, which would have made absolutely no sense whatsoever. Then we're going to go ahead and grab the other trailing arm and shove it in the exact same spot we shoved the other one. Well, symmetrically. All right, there we go. And now, to attach those to the car, we need a size 12 spanner. Let's double check that. Is it a 12? Yes, it is. For a second, I thought it was not because my crosshair was on the nut instead of the bolt, I guess. I think that's what it was. Like, I saw that, and yeah, that's the nut I was on. Doesn't take that. You got to be actually on the bolt. All right, so now the trailing arm is attached. So then we can go ahead and attach the drum brakes. Who wants drum brakes on their car? You want disc brakes, don't you? Surprising, though, how recently cars were still using drum brakes so often. Like, I think every year it's becoming less and less, but the amount is shocking to me because if I'm buying a car, it's like, man, I don't want no drum brakes. I want disc brakes on my car. Me, I have very different desires in a car than most people. I gotta have good handling and all that. People are like, how many children can I fit? And can I pretend it's an off-roader with my extra inches of ground clearance on my CUV? That's really what most people care about. At least that's what it seems like. Anyways, right now we're installing the coil springs. Those are symmetrical, so it doesn't matter which side goes on what. So boom, those are done. And those don't have any bolts, now that I think about it. I think. Maybe I'm just forgetting them. I'll have to double check that because it just feels weird having a part that has no bolts at all. Every time I look into the car, I swear it's like a set of eyes are looking at me, but it's just those fuzzy dice. I don't know if I'm the only one who sees that, but every time I glance by, it's like, who's in my car? Oh, it's the fuzzy dice. There is number 1 of the shock absorbers, and then we'll get number 2, and this does have bolts. Actually, it has quite a few. It has some above and some below. Also, when you carry the shock absorber, sometimes it goes into a crazy dance. Makes it just a little bit more difficult to try to line it up because its position is changing, like right there. Gotta wait for it to click, right? So, go! Nope! I just chucked it. Okay, where is that the... Somehow I chucked the shock absorber... Wait. That was weird. Yeah, I chucked it into the car itself, and then I thought I only had a piece of it because it was so perfectly lined up with my view. Alright, come on. There we go. And I think we still have a size 12 spanner in our hands, which means we could just pop into here and do the interior bolt. Just one there, and one there. And then for below, we need a size 10 spanner. Down below, I think it was 2 bolts, so there's one right there. Can't seem to get it. Maybe it wasn't a size 10. Let's try a different size. I might have had the wrong size in my head. Maybe it was a size 6. Those look pretty small. Yep, my bad. Sorry about that. For some reason, I just had a 10 in my mind. I think it was just because you used a 10 on the struts up front. I think that's why I was thinking 10. Well, actually, use a 10 on most of the things up front. Used it on the struts, the wishbone, and the subframe. One more bolt somewhere. It's kind of hard to see it because things are getting dark. I'm going to go to bed after this just because I know after the video gets uploaded to YouTube, it's even harder to see things. That's not the right bolt. There we go. I guess actually that was the left bolt, but I wanted the right bolt. Hey, you know what? We'll throw on the tires too. I don't think that really matters much since you already saw me throw on the tires for the front, even if you can barely see this. Ooh! Just knocked my engine on the floor. Nice! That's so reckless of me. We'll do the right tire, and then we do the left tire, and the suspension will be complete. Except for tightening the bolts, which I'll do when I wake up. So that means it could be really easy for the tires to fall off if there's some sort of movement to the car. To minimize that, we will lower the jack. There we go. Hopefully it'll stay like that. I mean, I see no reason why it actually won't. But you always have a little bit of a concern. And just because I feel like I accomplished a lot, before we go to sleep, let's save the game by taking a dump. And actually, I don't know if I showed you what actually happens after you save. It pops you back into the main menu after a second. See? And we can reload the game. Alright, we're back in the game, and we are going to go to sleep now because, as you can see, my fatigue is pretty high, and, well, I can't see anything because of how dark it is. I can barely find the light switches. Remember in the first video I mentioned that? Yeah, it still holds true. Also, something fun you can do is when you're in the bed and you crouch, you actually go under the bed. Just something really, really dumb you can do. Then you can crouch out of the bed, wake up, and continue on with your life like if that's a totally normal thing to do. So now our thirst is red, so we're going to go ahead and fix that real quickly by drinking some water from the faucet. We could drink the beer, but water is good for you, so drink the water. Plus, it's free. And then, since our hunger is also kind of low, we could eat my sausage? Right, apparently, I don't remember where I put my sausages. Did I actually eat them? Already? I don't remember eating them. Well, either way, we need to actually get food. Badly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this video here. And then next time, we're going to be driving this van and picking up some food for my dude. So until next time, this has been WhyBeAre. I'll see ya.